What's up, everybody? It's Lon Phillips Sullivan of LSUODYSSEY.COM. We'll see how this goes. Day off with my little guy here, little son, Seiji. 99% of the time, he's really good while I do these shows. That 1% of the time, he gets a little crazy. We'll see how he does. If he gets a little crazy, we'll suspend the show and finish it up later when Chelsea's home to watch him. But I feel confident that Bluey, the excessive food he just ate, and all that other stuff will placate him, hopefully. Bless you, my boy. Bless you. It is snowing here. I don't know how the weather is in Baton Rouge, but I doubt it is snowing. I guarantee it is very relaxed, mild winter weather. Here, where I'm at, out here in the Rocky Mountains, it is snowing. And it feels like a blizzard of LSU news, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Seiji? It feels like just a crazy blizzard of LSU news, one thing after another, from LSU's defensive staff being completely let go, moving on from all of them. Story we were able to break, which felt like giving the fan base a Christmas present. The second I got that information, I was like, we got to be the first. This is like giving a second Christmas to the fan base. Like, such a suffering fan base, and a lot of the players and recruits actually hit me up and said that they had no clue that was happening and were like joyous as well. A lot of families. So make no mistake, it is not just you who is cheering for the removal of Matt House. It was also a lot of players. There was a lot of players who were going to be leaving this program, at least 10, 12 in that area that I know of, probably even more. Someone like Shea Dixon probably even knows more. But 10 or 12 that I'm aware of that were going to leave just because of Matt House's mere existence. 3 or 4 of those guys I would consider to be not only starters, but like key players. So the removal of Matt House, the changing of the guard with some of the position coaches was a good thing. I think defensive line, Jimmy Lindsey never had the opportunity to prove himself at LSU, which I think is really kind of grotesque. This guy was hired as the right man for the job by Brian Kelly after Jamar Cain left the team holding the bag in the middle of spring camp. And Jimmy Lindsey comes in, has a medical emergency, and is out for the entire season until the last few games, coaches the last few games in an analyst administrator role in the booth with the defensive staff up there, including defensive coordinator, now former, Matt House. And you actually saw the defensive line play improve steadily with his reemergence. And to see him not given an opportunity, at least one season left on his contract, which is what he had one last season, the 2-year deal, I think is a little strange. I'm not going to say, no, don't go hire Bo Davis. Don't go pursue Bo Davis. But I'm simply saying I think it's a little weird to not give the guy at least a chance. Like Coach Jimmy Lindsey is leaving LSU having never had the opportunity to even coach. And that's to even prove himself at LSU. That's a little strange to me. Coach Jimmy Lindsey is a great dude, and I think a great developer. You've seen him maximize wherever he's gone. I think with LSU talent, with LSU, all the bountiful recruits we've got in that state, when he was fully back from his health concerns, it was going to be fully automatic with this guy. And I really think there was going to be a strong, promising future with Lindsey. The players liked him a lot as well. Players loved him. So, I mean, moving on from him, you've got to make sure you're going to have a home run hire, because you're paying one guy to never coach it down at LSU and to leave in Jimmy Lindsey. and then you're also going to be paying another guy. Well, you've got to have a home run there. LSU have had, I think this is going to be what, LSU's like 11th defensive line coach since 2016, something like that. Maybe even the 12th. It has been a different defensive line coach, sometimes even multiple within the same seasons every year since 2016. That is absolutely disgraceful. And so if you're going to move on from Jimmy Lindsey, which they obviously have, at least initially, now we're hearing Bo Davis is spurning LSU, supposedly. We'll look into that. What's going on, buddy? What are you cackling for? We've got some comments here. Drew A says it's been pouring rain just now, stopping right there in Baton Rouge. It's been pouring rain. Hell yeah, but good thing it's stopping. Mark Cumby, is it Cumby or is it Cumble? I can't really see if that's an I or an L. Says, when is the Baker announcement coming? When is the Baker announcement coming? Well, for one thing, how are you so sure Blake Baker's the guy? Just because a lot of people are saying that? I mean, Blake Baker most likely is the guy. But have we not learned anything? This kid, I swear, screws up everything in this house. Have we not learned anything from Brian Kelly? That this guy, the way he operates, is sometimes with smoke screens. Sometimes he's going to trickle out through the media to people, like a Jordy Culotta or a Matt Moscona or maybe even a T-Bob. Oh, this is going to be the guy. This is going to be the guy. And so they feel so strongly like, okay, we're breaking some news here. This is the dude. And then it's completely like the opposite. The dude that no one was talking about, the Tony Gibson of this situation, for the defensive coordinators. So we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, I'll get into usually the comments get me off subject, so I'll kind of ignore those for a second. Where the hell were we? Oh yeah, the defensive staff being replaced. So, we're hearing Bo Davis spurning LSU's advances, according to, I think it's Football Scoop, something like that. And we'll see if that's correct. Probably is. He's spurned LSU's advances with Kelly a number of times now. This would be the third, I believe. At least the second. And he tried to hire him when he first arrived at LSU, Brian Kelly. And it's like this guy played, and he was the second team All-SEC defensive lineman at LSU, Bo Davis. He won a national championship as an assistant to Tommy Moffitt, assistant strength and conditioning coach under Nick Saban in 2003. He's coached at LSU. Like, he has family from LSU. He's from Louisiana. If he doesn't want to come back once again, like, just stop going after the guy. Stop pursuing the guy. If he wants to stay at Texas that bad, let him stay. Like, I know for a fact Jimmy Lindsey sure as hell wanted to stay at LSU. Sure as hell wanted to develop those young men. So Bo Davis doesn't want to do that. If the reports we're hearing are accurate, I haven't been able to verify that just yet. But we'll see. We'll see. It's another rejection from Bo Davis. That'd be, I think, the third time in 2 seasons. And that would be kind of interesting because everybody is just assuming Bo Davis was a lock, but never underestimate University of Texas's ability and power to throw money down, make good on some incentives, things like that. What up, buddy? Thank you for being a good boy, buddy, so I can do this. You want to play with the remote? It's the mystical love of the remote. The mystical remote. The remote of time and space and man. Whatever that means. You've got all these shifting things with the defensive staff. Who's Kelly going to hire? And whoever he hires as the defensive coordinator is going to inform how he hires the rest of the staff. So obviously, if you have a safety specialist and he's the defensive coordinator that you're going to be hiring, well, obviously you don't need to now sign a safeties coach. You just need to get a linebackers coach. You know what I'm trying to say here? Like Matt House, for instance, linebacker specialist. We obviously had him double up as linebackers coach. So you're going to see the defensive coordinator hire first, and then from there, that guy is going to bring to the table some names. Him and BK are going to go through those and decide on the rest of the staff together. With Kelly giving, this new guy a lot of autonomy depending on circumstances, age, like that, situation, experience. So from there, LSU's defensive staff will take root. Corey Raymond will be returning to LSU. Like it's beyond having a number of sources at this point. It's about why hasn't this happened yet? What is going on that might prevent this suddenly? That might change things at the 11:59 minute, right before midnight. What's going on here? Like that's what's going on with Corey Raymond and why we haven't heard anything about that, because it's either DB's coach or, assistant recruiting coordinator, recruiting analyst, something like that. But I would be shocked if he wasn't the cornerbacks coach as well as a heavy hand in recruiting. I would be shocked if it was, hey, Corey Raymond, come back, but we're going to have you basically be demoted. That would be kind of strange to me. And I don't think kids would want to recruit to Corey Raymond so they could go play for someone else. I think the attraction of being recruited by Corey Raymond is so that you can play for and be developed by Corey Raymond. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, thanks, Corey. All right, now we're going to have Durante Jones be our guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though Durante Jones is the safeties coach, so never mind. Take that back. Speaking of guys who never got opportunities to coach at LSU, much like Jimmy Lindsey, Durante Jones never got an opportunity, weirdly enough. He got little pockets of that 2021 season, and we held Alabama to 6 rushing yards, the number 1 team in the nation, barely beat us, only scoring, I think, is 20 points that game, and just were sledgehammers against Alabama that night. So that was another guy that it felt like got swallowed up by the Kelly clean house kind of vibe. Because that's what Kelly does when he comes in, is he cleans house and just gets rid of everyone who just was there. Right, wrong, indifferent. But, unless he finds that they are superior to, go beyond any leftover residue from the previous regime. Someone like Brad Davis, offensive line coach, someone like he retained like that. Damn, we need to shave and we need a haircut. But, yeah, I just I think it's very interesting that now Kelly also has to hire an offensive coordinator. We've forgotten all about that whole thing, and I think a lot of people, to keep it simple, have tried to say just hire Joe Sloan, / Cortez Hankton, whatever the hell you want to do, Kelly, but just solve this offensive coordinator part to it and just be done with it, you know? And I understand that because Sloan looked really good. They called some great plays. They were able to mimic a lot of what that Denbrock offense was all about, but also really like accentuate Nussmeier's abilities with like in the face of pressure. You know, if you notice, go back and watch the film versus Wisconsin. Nussmeier's making so many great plays after escaping the pocket. He'd escape the pocket, replatform, and make a beautiful just dart right through coverage, secondary routes, everything. Like, that's next level stuff for your first start. I know it's his 17th overall appearance, though. So that, you know, there's a caveat. That Arkansas game in 2021 was basically a start. But, you know, I feel like it's going to be very interesting to see where Kelly wants to go offensive coordinator wise. And I'm hearing it's still in-house. I'm still hearing that, you know, he could promote Dean Petzing from the, you know, offensive specialist to quarterbacks coach. That's what Dean Petzing has been doing, being kind of the communique, you know, the connective tissue between the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, which obviously has been Jaden Daniels this last 2 years, the Heisman winner. And then you saw what Petzing did with Nussmeier, effortless. Came in there and just Nussmeier put up 395. So you elevate Petzing from offensive specialist to quarterbacks coach, elevate Sloan to offensive coordinator. And do not forget, Cortez Hankton is still being paid as receivers coach and passing coordinator and has been since 2022. So if he doesn't get the coordinator job, I don't feel too bad for him, the offensive coordinator job. He's still making a ton of money at LSU. But, you know, something historic is going on in LSU recruiting. Something absolutely incredible that is just stunning beyond belief because they've made it look easy. And it hasn't been easy for LSU to do these types of, pull off these types of you know, secure, to finish, to get, you know, get to the finish line finally, get over the goal line finally with some of these guys. And so I really am impressed by the fact that LSU, you know, Brian Kelly's LSU football recruiting under Brian Kelly have really put the fence around Louisiana. And it's because Kelly's first hire, really worthy, but I mean, his first hire was Brian Polian, but his first hire worth a damn was Frank freaking Wilson. Frank Wilson has absolutely resurrected it. This is the sequel that's better than the original, in my opinion. 9 out of 10 of the top 10 Louisiana prospects signed in one class. In one freaking class. And that's just 2024. Now you've got 2025 where LSU are about to sign potentially 2 5-stars in 1 week, the number one receiver, a 5-star receiver, DeCorian Moore, from before. You already have him, but now you've signed the number one running back, 5-star Harlem Berry, also within the state. Unbelievable. And now, tomorrow, you have a chance to add Michigan-born, Michigan-located, Michigan native, number one 5-star quarterback for the 2025 class, Bryce Underwood, potentially, to come to the program. Oh, and you also got 5-star Dominic McKinley on New Year's Eve, I believe it was. And you just got Jyaire Brown from the transfer portal. A few guys also left from the transfer portal. You got 5-star Lance Hurd, offensive lineman, has left. Your starting running back from last year, Logan Diggs, has left. And a 5-star receiver, freshman receiver, who had a very promising future, Jyaire Brown, has also left. So we're going to go through all of that. First off, LSU's recruiting. LSU finishing off the 2024 class by getting Gabe Relaford. And now Dominic Mckinley totally flips the script on that class. They finish inside the top 5 nationally. They finish out of the top 5 nationally, inside the top 5 nationally. Now you have this 2025 class where they are number 2 right now, but if they sign Bryce Underwood, you know they're going to be the first overall class in the country. And it's right out of the gate. Still a lot of time, I understand. And we know what happens with 5 stars once they sign with LSU or once they commit with LSU. They tend to turn into 4 stars randomly. You know, that happened to Walker Howard. It happened to Will Campbell. It happened to Lance Hurd. It happened to Jyaire Brown. There's a lot of 5 stars who signed with us who then were downgraded to 4 stars. And it was like right after they committed. Something very strange going on with that. And I know LSU fans have noticed that. And the timing could not be more iffy. And it seems like suddenly the writing staff at those certain recruiting sites then turn on those players as well after they commit to LSU and are like a hard LSU commit. They're like, well, who cares about them? Like Caden Durham, that guy wasn't he a 5-star and was downgraded, or was he just never given that 5th star? I think he was just never given that 5th star. Another player that should have been a 5-star, Emory Jones Jr. Come on, everybody was after that guy. Of course, he was a 5-star. Like, there are so many guys. So when you complain about LSU doesn't sign 5 stars, I've heard it from so many fans. Look at Harold Perkins as well. Harold Perkins, Will Campbell, Walker Howard. We got 3 5-stars in the 2022 class upon Kelly's arrival. Not to mention a guy like Emory Jones. And then you look, a guy like Gabe Relaford in this class. And then now he has really silenced that. I've gone through that list of guys who were downgraded the second they committed to LSU. But now, forget downgrading. LSU got Dominic Mckinley, 5-star, 2024 5-star. And then 2025, yesterday, Harlem Berry, running back from the state of Louisiana, staying home, absolute superstar, number 1 running back in the country. And then tomorrow, a big day, a momentous day, number 1 quarterback in the country, Bryce Underwood. Will he commit to LSU? We have predicted our, I should just say, let me restate that. We have entered our prediction on LSUODYSSEY.com right now. We have entered the prediction on LSUODYSSEY.com. We've basically had this prediction since mid-November, and we have doubled down on it, in fact. And it's crazy. In a year when Michigan have a revival, where they go back to their first national title game since 1997, and they look like they have a good chance to win this thing, beat Alabama. I just cannot see Bryce Underwood committing to Michigan because I think he has doubts over whether Jim Harbaugh is going to stay there. He doesn't even know if that head coach is actually going to be there when he actually gets to campus next year. And that's what's crazy. Bryce Underwood still has another season of high school, and he's already taken Belleville to 3 state championship games, winning 2 of them, losing this last season. Still Gatorade Player of the Year in Michigan. Passed for 41 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, over 3,300 passing yards. Absolute freak of nature, Bryce Underwood. 6'3", 195, I believe it was his measurables. Impeccable player. We will see what happens with him. I believe that there's no way around it. I feel that Bryce Underwood is going to commit to LSU. And LSU are going to continue their role recruiting-wise. And it looks also like they're going to continue that in the transfer portal, because Jyaire Brown from Ohio State commits to LSU. This is a dude who, Louisiana native, there's been a lot of talk about, what's this guy about? And a lot of, conjecture about who's LSU going to get, who's going to leave LSU, who's LSU's going to get for next season. LSU's DB room, oh my God, DB is dead, oh no. And just a lot of panic and a lot of destitution. And I get it. But the talent is there already. If we had just had a decent defensive coordinator, we would have had a lot more. We would have seen a lot more from these guys. Anyway, already on the face of it. But now you have Jyaire Brown coming in from Ohio State, a guy who's had his injury woes. Did not play last season, did not record a statistic last season. And only, he played 9 games in 2022, had 3 pass breakups, one forced fumble, 8 total tackles. And, actually, okay, my bad. He did play 4 games last season at Ohio State. He did play 4 games. He had 1 total tackle. My bad. So he's played 13 games the last 2 seasons, 8 total tackles in 2022, 1 this last year. Did have an impressive 3 pass breakups, probably in limited reps, and a forced fumble. This dude was zeroed in on by Frank Wilson. This guy was zeroed in on by Ohio State as well, and Ryan Day's elite recruiting staff. So, I mean, this guy can ball. I know LSU hasn't always hit on every single transfer DB that they've had coming in the last few years. But I think a lot of that has to do with circumstances. Look at what happened. J.K. Johnson gets hurt. Zy Alexander basically gets picked on the whole season, and he still actually looked pretty damn good, even though he had some struggles. He was just the one that they were going after, and it's not him calling a defense that has everyone lined 15 yards off the ball. And then you had Denver Harris and Deuce Chestnut basically lose their minds after like week 3 or something. And who knows what happened with Denver Harris? Who knows what happened with Deuce Chestnut? But from what I've heard, it doesn't sound too well. And I don't want to put that out there because I haven't been able to confirm that. So I'm not really going to, talk shit on a kid like that. I just don't really believe in doing that type of stuff. So we'll keep that to ourselves. But it was a shame that we could not see both of those guys work out here, because I met Deuce Chestnut. He's actually a really nice dude. And he had a pick in his first game, but then gets picked on in the second half of that game. Looked awesome in that first half. Had a tackle for loss as well. Was really playing damn good at the line of scrimmage. And then he didn't really play well the second half. Got destroyed by Keon Coleman, and he was never the same. Denver Harris would get chances here, there, and then just would be gone. And then Kelly kind of felt forced to play him at one point. He played, didn't look too good, looked okay here or there, but then would get burned here or there. But it was like, yeah, he's rusty. But it's like we never really saw what Denver Harris could do. That's another 5-star right there. Denver Harris. That's another just a circumstantial thing that didn't work out. Why that didn't work out. So it's been a lot of hit and miss, but it hasn't been for a lack of trying from what Brian Kelly and his staff have done transfer portal wise with the DBs. But as far as safety, as good as a dude as Andre Sam is, I feel like LSU really needs something that's so they need something more at the safety position. They need something. They need an aggression, an intensity, and a ball hawking, strong tackling vibe from the safety position on down that just was not there last season. I know that the stats look kind of okay on paper, a bunch of tackles and multiple picks, but it was god awful, and almost every one of these guys allowed 4+ touchdowns at the back end, both Major Burns, who's returning, and Andre Sam, who out of eligibility entering the NFL draft. And Andre Sam has a great story. He's a great kid. He's going to go on to hopefully have a hell of an NFL career. But last season, it was just not good enough. And I have no problem saying that to him because the film tells no lies. It was not good enough from him. He was set up in a position to fail, though, by his defensive coordinator. Just like every other one of those kids in that locker room. And you could see that disgust on Mekhi Wingo's face on that field at the ReliaQuest Bowl there in Tampa Bay. You could see that disgust and that dismissive, like totally fuck you, Matt House. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to pretend to be nice anymore. Like, I'm done being polite. I'm done being respectful. Like, gloves are off. And maybe Mekhi didn't even know there was a camera there, but that was that proves to you that Matt House lost that locker room. And so it's like LSU have got to bring in also some guys that have a lot of leadership, some guys that can bring this locker room together. What did Brian Kelly say at his press conference that really something that really stuck out to him about why the defense failed last year? It wasn't about tackling technique. It wasn't about scheme. It wasn't about personnel. It was literally about this group wasn't as together as 2022 was. This group wasn't as – they weren't hanging out with each other. There wasn't a vibe. There were factions, So you had a group that weren't on the same page off the field. They're never going to be on the same page on the field either to begin with. This is LSU. Everybody is always partying together as a team. This is not how things are run, where everything's so factions that just makes no sense, and it's shocking to hear. But Brian Kelly said that at a press conference, and that's something we have got to fix. That's why I am really sad that Mekhi Wingo left, because that's a leader that so many young players looked up to. So many young players looked up to Mekhi Wingo as the captain. And seeing him leave, not only from a talent perspective, but from a leadership perspective, sucks for LSU's defense. So you really want to see this defensive coordinator, this defensive staff take shape as soon as possible and attack the portal. Get guys who can bring that leadership, that harmony into the locker room, but also make sure we can retain all these dudes. It was a huge piece of work to retain a guy like Sage Ryan, and you saw that pay off in the game against Wisconsin. Anybody else is out there except for Sage Ryan, we lose that game. He's getting burnt on some of those deep routes. Sage Ryan, 2 pass breakups, 2 forced incompletions. That's 4 forced incompletions total from him from targets his way. He had 10 total targets go his way, and he only allowed 58 yards, 2 yards after catch. And all of those yards, what are they from? They're from Matt House calling a 15 yards off soft coverage. Of course these guys are going to give up catches, gimme catches when they're set up like that. But you always saw Sage Ryan, for the most part, make strong tackles after the catch. So it's good to get a leader like him back. It sucks to see a leader like Mekhi Wingo leave. Now we need to see Mason Smith take that next step and really take the mantle going into this next season. Sure, he can declare for the NFL draft. Would that be a smart decision? No. Okay. Oh, interesting. I love when people like send me a direct message. Hey, can you tell me this information about this and this and this and this? And it's like, it's somebody who's never supported my work or my website whatsoever anytime, but then the information's right there on my site. It's like, do you think I'm just gonna like give you something that people are actually paying for right now? Like, there's a lot of you watching who are paying me your hard-earned money for the information we're giving you, including breaking the news on Matt House being fired, including Sage Ryan entering the portal, and then getting out of the portal and staying at LSU, returning. There's the word I was looking for. That's just one. Recently, Jimmy Lindsey's return to the team back in against Florida. There's a bunch of these random stories that we've broken over the years, and a lot of these have been hijacked by a lot of other big media people, and it's kind of funny. And that was proven with this last story. I mean, we posted that and no one else had the balls to say anything for 10, 15 minutes until LSU put their press release out after we had already published our article and posted our breaking news on Matt House and the rest of that staff. And then finally, others joined the whole fray, claiming it was their news. And that was really distasteful because, and a lot of people saying, well, I found out last night this was going to happen. I knew about this for 2 days. And it's like, no, you didn't. And I know you didn't because of the way that I found out. And it's embarrassing to see some of these media guys who are big time media guys that you watch and probably listen to every day that are lying to you, straight lying to you, and then stealing other people's news as their own. I don't really care about the credit. I already know. I mean, it's already feels good enough to me just to break the news that Matt House is leaving LSU, and that LSU hopefully will get a better replacement. It already feels good enough there. My problem is the dishonesty where they're trying to claim that they knew. When it's like some of these people are saying Matt House is going to be retained just a day ago. So it's like, come on, stop. Embarrassing. It was tomfoolery. I mean, we're not on 3. We don't have a staff of writers, and we can't break every single story, and we can't, cover every single last piece of news. But we do a pretty damn good job of covering most of it, 99% of it, 90% of it in that range. So we're just gonna keep doing that, and we'll see what transpires from there. Oh my God. We are extremely, extremely proud to be sponsored and to be partnered with ReleafMed.com, Louisiana's #1 gatekeeper resource to medical cannabis in Louisiana. Great people, ReleafMed, great company. Give them a call. Contact them today at ReleafMed.com. Let's go, baby. And Happy New Year to you as well. And it's snowing here. It's snowing. I mean, the snow just continues to fluff down, to flutter down. What a Friday. Happy Friday to all of you. Happy Friday to all of you. I was talking to a few recruits from the 2024 class from the linebacker position, some dudes, and they are asking me, kind of fishing for information. Do you know who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Blake Baker and blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, well, I could ask you the same thing. Is it going to be Blake Baker? And we're kind of going back and forth. And I'm like, what I've heard is Baker is basically in position for this job. Everything is set up for him to go. He's taken Missouri to a pretty damn good spot for Eli Drinkovitz. Okay. And now his family, his wife, would be ecstatic to come back to Louisiana. I'm sure there would be some type of enhanced autonomy, something that would be of interest to him that would seal the deal, sweeten the deal even more than just a lateral move as like a defensive coordinator. But here's the thing. This is no lateral move when you're going from Missouri to LSU. It's no lateral move when you saw what Matt House did to our defense and now what we're expecting it to come back to. LSU defenses are supposed to be like, scaring you. They're supposed to be intimidating. They're supposed to be vicious. They're supposed to be brutal. They're supposed to be that thief in the night. They're supposed to be an uncaged, untamed, animalistic, primordial, medieval, syndicated violence unlike you've ever seen before. It's supposed to be something that makes, an older man piss the bed. It's something that's supposed to, make maybe the sick and twisted get a little hot under the collar, get going for that. It's something that would have to make someone like George Lucas change their pants. I mean, LSU defense is something that used to scare and intimidate opponents. That guy's coming on that safety blitz. He is going to knock your face off. You don't see that too much anymore. A guy like Mason Smith should be at the top of that list where he is such a scary athletic presence coming at you. Oh my God. Imagine being a quarterback and Mason Smith is coming, he's bearing down on you. That's like a bear coming at you. That is literally like bearing down, like no pun intended, bearing down on you. Like he is fucking huge. And then you got like the speed of Deshaun Womack, the hitting ability of Deshaun Womack coming at people without his helmet on. Do you know why people went so crazy for that? You know why people went so crazy for the contributions of Whit Weeks? Settled things down because he was just so consistent? Because that's LSU football. That's LSU defense. That swat at the line by Ryan Yates on a 4th down try, that was LSU defense. There's been some plays throughout the season that's LSU defense. Those 3 sacks to end the game against Wisconsin in a row, that's LSU defense. There were some plays against A&M at certain points that it was like, that's LSU defense. At the end of that game, when they turned it on and won that game for Jaden Daniels, took it over, and finally did something for once, that was LSU defense. You saw a throwback to that's LSU defense in the 2021 Alabama game, allowing only 6 rushing yards and absolutely destroying them, bottling up a Heisman winner. Jay Ward, like almost trying to take Bryce Young's head off. That is LSU defense. And that is what Blake Baker, if he's going to be that guy, that's what he's going to be most challenged with. Is the vibe has to come back. more than the schematics, more than the numbers, the statistics, the yards allowed, the touchdowns allowed, the points allowed, more than the coverage you give up, like all that stuff. The vibe of LSU defense has to return, because what we saw last year was unforgivable, unmistakable garbage. Unmistakably garbage. But beyond garbage, it was historic garbage. It was historic embarrassment, humiliation. It was an abysmal atrocity. There were games that I watched and I felt like a crime was being committed upon Jaden Daniels, that offensive coaches up in the booth, and us as the fans. College football fans, really, as a whole, robbed of having Jaden Daniels in this college football playoff. I was just Blake Baker, if he's going to be the guy, I really like his mindset. I really like the way he gets along with his players. He makes sure the culture is right. He makes sure the vibe is right above all. You can question his experience and his knowledge and his value with schematics, with his 4-2-5 defense. You can question whether his defenses have put up good numbers or not, or have kind of been more in the middling kind of territory, while he's still peaking at the right time. This has been his best defense with Mizzou. But you cannot question how good he is in the living room, recruiting players, how good he is with those guys in the locker room, and how good he is on the practice field developing them. We saw Damone Clark go from a guy who had no confidence. And Damone Clark has gone on the record and said this. We're not just pulling this out of our ass. This is why people learned that Blake Baker had something to do with Damone Clark's rise to being someone who should have won the Butkus that season. Now playing for the Cowboys after a crazy spinal fusion surgery. But it wouldn't have been possible without Blake Baker turning him around after that god-awful 2020 season, where a lot of it was just blamed on Damone Clark. Like a lot of this year was just blamed on Sage Ryan. And a lot of it was like Damone Clark making tackles to clean up the misses and messes of others. And so it was, that guy came in and was able to take a dude who was basically damaged mentally and emotionally and turn him into a physical monster who led that locker room to a really good transformation in that second half of the season defensively. So I feel like if Blake Baker is going to be hired, I would feel comfortable with him being the defensive coordinator, just because I would know that he would repair the psyche of the defensive leaders that are there, and those leaders would then take this defense to the right place it needs to go. Plus, the 4-2-5 gives us such a flexibility with that extra either defensive back, extra linebacker, or you could even make an extra edge rusher in the front. There's a lot of things you can do when you just have a base 4-3 front every damn time, as we've seen in 2020, as we saw in 2021 early in that year. You're going to get shredded when you have just a predictable base setup. And that's what we did this last season. It was embarrassing. And you're going to see a 4-2-5 setup from Blake Baker. And I think that's going to, help players like Toviano. He's multiple. He can play multiple positions at the back end. Sage Ryan, multiple positions at the back end. Sage Ryan had a pressure versus Wisconsin again too. Like he does a lot of good work blitzing off the edge. He had 2 TFLs that were basically sacks, but they charged them with TFLs because they called the quarterback. They judged the quarterback to be making a rushing attempt. So he's made some plays in the backfield. He had 4.5 TFLs this last year, Sage Ryan. So you could have him blitzing off the edge. He's showing that he's in nickel. Suddenly he's blitzing off the edge. You could have Ryan Yates at safety rolling over the top into the nickel position while blitzing Sage Ryan from that nickel spot. vacating it. Ryan Yates rolls over the top and covers that man. You could do so many different things with Harold Perkins in that package just alone. I mean, my head is exploding right now with the possibilities of where you could put Perkins and how you could swap him with another player, how you could blitz him in certain places, or have him drop into coverage, or drop into be a spy, going after a dual threat quarterback. There's so many beautiful things that you can do in a 4-2-5 setup in the right hands with the right personnel at their disposal. Is Blake Baker the man for the LSU job? We'll find out that question very, very soon. Very soon. God, this guy Joe Dirt going after Peggy, our friend Peggy, calling her he says, "We don't claim that bitch Peggy. Most annoying redheaded bitch on the internet. Literally annoying as fuck." Wow. That dude is disgusting. Who is this guy? There are some scumbags online. Just don't give them the attention that they're craving, and I don't think we'll see as much of this type of crap. But I think there's some LSU troll accounts, this Joe Dirt guy, and I just some of the stuff they post is just ridiculous. But coming after Peggy like that, what? Why? Peggy doesn't do any harm. She's not. She barely even posts like her opinion on things. She's mostly just posting support. That's low for me. Cole Adams says, hopefully with a defensive coordinator that knows his Pete, Sage goes back to his natural position and becomes the thumper and playmaker he can be. Yes, he needs to gain some weight as well to make that happen. If Burns makes the field, play him at nickel. He is not a safety. No, he's not. You saw him make some sick plays in the backfield this last game against Wisconsin. That's what he can do at his best. That's not what he did all season. That's a good idea. Cole Adams says Sage, Weeks, Smith should be the leaders to set the three levels of the defense next year, and Perkins will be the energy leader. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Throw in Toviano as well. And I know Toviano leader might be too early for him to be that, a leader. I don't think so. That guy seems like a dog to me. And then you're going to have Womack as another just high-quality, talented piece. Paris Shand will be back, I believe. You do lose Jordan Jefferson, sadly. But, yeah, LSU are in a good spot here. We really love what LSU are doing recruiting-wise, transfer portal-wise, and I have a feeling that they're going to be bringing in some coaches that have a lot of Louisiana blood and Louisiana ties. And to quote that great company, Men's Warehouse, I think you're going to like the way you look.